And we're live, folks, right here on the Sports Talk Nation. And, folks, glad to have you aboard. I wonder what we're going to talk about today. Can't even imagine what we're going to talk about today. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about some football. Nah, in fact, I'm not even going to go there. Just kidding. We're going to talk some baseball here, folks, because we saw one of the greatest games in the history of not just baseball, not just the World Series, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to put it out there. Professional sports. Game 5 of the 2017 World Series was as good as it could get. And if you missed it, I don't know what to say. That game's going to be on MLB Network. It's going to be on ESPN Classic for the next thousands of years, for that matter, as long as those stations stay running, because that was, as I said, as good as it gets between the Dodgers and the Astros. I have no rooting interest. I have no dog in the fight, if you will, between these two teams, and to watch it go back and forth and all the runs that were scored, all the hits that happened in that game, the bad pitching out of the bullpen by both teams, it was phenomenal. It was fantastic theater, and as I tweeted out yesterday, folks, both teams should take great pride in taking part in that game. That was one for the ages. Joining us to talk about this game is none other than Ben Poplin of 27 Outs Baseball, and Ben is one, we've had him on earlier in the year, previewing the 2017 season, and now he's back with us here talking about this World Series. Ben, how you been, man?
I am doing great, Mike. That's quite a lead-in right there, man. I don't know what to say that hasn't already been said about that game. If you didn't watch it, one, what were you doing? It's your own fault. And two, it's one of the greatest games in professional sports. I can't disagree with you on that. It is unreal what happened last night. I can't get over it.
Yeah, I can't get over it either. I mean, I'm sitting there. I'll be honest with you. I was starting to doze off a little bit when it was 12-9. I know it's how could you doze off at that? But I was. It's 12:30, 12:39, whatever it was, and I'm just sitting there waiting for the game to end. Then all of a sudden I hear Joe Buck say, "It's out of here." I'm like, "What? What happened?" I see Yasiel Puig running around the bases. I think, it's a solo home run. Who cares? Then I find out it's a 2-run homer. Oh, this is getting a little more interesting right now. And it was just phenomenal. It was just. I don't think I've seen baseball played at that kind of level ever before, and this is the first time we've seen, certainly in our lifetimes, two teams that have won 100 games in the same season in the World Series. Hasn't happened since 1970. This is what it looks like. I mean, this is what it's like when you have two great teams going at it at the same time, and neither team has any quit in it. Both teams were fighting for it all the way down to the end, and look, someone was going to leave devastated, and it was certainly not going to be Houston. They just found a way to outlast the Dodgers in that game with Bregman getting the base hit off of Jansen at the end of the game. It was just phenomenal. Phenomenal.
How about Bregman, too?
Oh, yeah.
He was in college 2 years ago, Mike. Mm-hmm. In college. He was at LSU, drafted first round, and he is growing up in front of our eyes. Mm-hmm. And he is not someone to be toyed with on that hot corner either. I mean, he has solidified that starting role with the Houston Astros. They're going to have to lock that kid up. He's 23 years young. He doesn't look like it, and the game winner last night proves it. And the way that he has played, he's made not one, but 2 game-saving, possibly series-saving plays, cheating in on the line at third and gunning to former Braves catcher Brian McCann at the dish. I don't know why people didn't know about him before, but they certainly know about him now. Alex Bregman is here to stay. George Springer is the most exciting player in baseball right now. As is Carlos Correa. The celebration, it wouldn't be acceptable any other game if it wasn't the World Series in Game 5. Carlos Correa jumping over the railing and also standing right behind home plate where the umpire's making the call. Like, that's supposed to be the batter in the on-deck circle. Carlos Correa got away with it. Why not?
Why not?
It was unbelievable. The celebrations, everything was ratcheted up to 11 at Minute Maid Park. The train kept going off.
I would love to know who the conductor was, because that guy was having a blast. I think he was just saying, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to join the mayhem. I'm just going to keep pressing this thing until I win.
He's got a pretty great job.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, no.
Over there at Minute Maid Park. I'm just going to stand up here on the tracks, and every time a ball is hit out of the stratosphere up over to NASA right down the street in Houston, I'm just going to blow the horn. Because why not?
Why not? I mean, Carlos Correa, you mentioned the celebration. And when he hit that 3-run home run, the celebration he had down the first baseline, just exploding in pure exuberance, it reminded me a little bit of Carlton Fisk. Now, I know Carlton Fisk didn't go absolutely crazy like that, but of course, wishing the ball to go stay fair. It reminded me a little bit of that. It had that kind of aura to it, and I think that's going to be a play. If the Astros win this World Series, either in 6 or 7, depending on how this thing goes, that's going to be the signature play. 20, 25 years from now, everyone's going to say, "Oh, you remember that play when Carlos Correa hit that home run and went absolutely bananas on the first baseline?" I mean, that's what people are going to talk about.
I agree. It definitely had the Carlton Fisk vibe, and the only thing was it was high enough, but wasn't going to get over into the Crawford boxes, and it did. Oh, boy, howdy did it did. And down the first base line, fist pump. I mean, the sheer exuberance, as you alluded to, and just the disgust and disdain on Cody Bellinger's face as he has to trot right by him. I mean, so much excitement, so many bat flips, so many things that a lot of people frown upon that everyone just loves in this World Series because everything is exciting and pitching is probably at its worst.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they went through so many pitchers. I think they went through, 14 pitchers, which I think was a record for that matter in number of pitchers used in a World Series game. And that was only a 10-inning game. I mean, it was just crazy. Every single person they would put in there was getting hit on. I mean, the only guys that didn't give up any runs, you take a look at the Dodgers, it was Watson and Stripling. They didn't give up anything. And Gregerson and Musgrove at the end of the game. Other than that, everyone was giving up runs. I mean, everyone was giving up big runs, big home runs, big hits. Walking guys was a huge problem for all these pitchers in this game. I'll be honest with you. I know sometimes we can go ticky-tack about pitches in or out of the strike zone. I think the umpires have called a very fair series in this. I think they called a very great game yesterday, considering what was involved. But I'll be honest, the pitching was just once we got into the fourth inning, fifth inning, it just went right down the drain. It just became a total slugfest from that point forward.
It's been horrendous.
It's been
horrendous. I mean, what's the longest a starting pitcher? I can't name it off the top of my dome that a starting pitcher has gone in this World Series. Oh, I can actually. It was Alex Wood the other night, and he no-hit the Astros, which is the best offense in the game. And wouldn't you know it, because there's been 25 homers or whatever it is in these past 5 nights, that his no-hitter was broken up. And not to be outdone, Charlie Morton. You've had talks about him for years and years now, including when he was a member of the Atlanta Braves and the Pittsburgh Pirates. He just could not put it together. He's healthy, he's put it together, and he's here to stay. He's 33, but he's not pitching like he's 33. My goodness. Those two guys are the best pitching performance we've seen in this World Series. And, Mike, I don't know about you, but there's a couple of guys named Justin Verlander, Dallas Keuchel, and Clayton Kershaw that I thought were going to be good, and they just have not been as good as advertised. The offense is insurmountably overshadowed pitching.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. The Keuchel's an interesting case. I mean, he's had a weird postseason. The Yankees kind of figured him out at the end of that LCS when they knocked him around at Yankee Stadium. Really hasn't been the same since. And I don't know if it's just the long season. He's pitching so many innings. I know he did have an injury earlier in the year, missed some time. So I don't know if that's playing part of a role in it. But he does not look like the same pitcher we saw certainly earlier in the year. Certainly by his bubblegum card at all in this postseason in the World Series.
I wouldn't think the injury has anything to do with it, because you look what he did in Game 1 of the American League Championship Series with the New York Yankees, and he shut him down. So the Yankees just figured something out. And, I mean, they went to town on him in Game 3 of that series, Game 4 of that series. I don't know. Maybe the beard's weighing him down. I don't know. But, he's got to figure something out. Justin Turner's beard doesn't seem to be weighing him down, though. He's had countless hit after countless hit. How about these guys just stepping up off of the bench? Austin Barnes, Jock Peterson, who maybe hit a little over 200. The postseason changes everybody. It's a brand new season. The slate is wiped clean. Anyone can step up. Cody Bellinger finally woke up last night, 2 nights ago. Wow.
Oh, I mean,
the youth and exuberance, to reiterate again, the youth that we are seeing on both of these teams, we have never seen the likes of this type of young talent between two teams that are powerhouses. You've already stated over 100 wins each. Team average is probably over 300 each when it comes to the bats. Home runs, I mean, at a premium. I don't know what to say, Mike. It's unexplainable.
It really is. I mean, we're looking at two teams that whoever wins this World Series, they've earned it. And these are two teams that are going to stick around for a while. I mean, these players are, both of these teams have these guys under control for a few more years. And like you said, these are all young players, guys like Altuve, guys like Correa, guys like George Springer, guys like Bellinger. I mean, these guys are going to be a part of these franchises for a while now. They're now the faces of baseball. So if you are a baseball fan, and even if you're just a casual baseball fan, get used to hearing these names. Get used to seeing these teams, maybe not necessarily in the World Series every single year. That's tough to do. But get used to seeing these two teams certainly in the postseason on a consistent basis.
Oh, yeah, it's not a one and done. Mm-hmm. These two teams are going to be in the postseason. They're going to be in the playoff hunt for years to come. And I already mentioned you got to lock down Alex Bregman. Mm-hmm. How much are you going to have to pay George Springer? How much are you going to have to pay Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa? None of those guys are even close to 30 years old, by the way, which is scary good. Mm-hmm. Just scary good. Not to mention Yuli Gurriel, who, despite the controversy a couple of nights ago with the racial whatever, he's 33 years old and he's a rookie. And he has come out of the woodwork. And this is in his welcome to Major League Baseball party. It's been ridiculous where he has come from. And if you haven't watched the Astros all year, which is pretty much all of us, unless you're a huge Astros fan, this is fun to watch. This is what they get to see in Houston every day. I would lose my voice every day if I were a Houston Astros season ticket holder. It's ridiculous.
It really is. And you know what? They're perfect for that ballpark. I mean, that's a ballpark that's conducive to that kind of hitting. You got this short porch there in left field with the scoreboard that juts in, has all those weird turns and twists in it, and they just play to that ballpark, and it's such a huge advantage for them. I mean, that's why they haven't lost. That's why they haven't lost in that building at all. I mean, that's certainly until game number 4. So they've been so good in that building, and if they can figure it out on the road, I mean, of course, all they need to do is just get this one win. With this offense, anything's possible, and I think what happened in game 2 for them might have been the kind of confidence they need going into this game 6, and even a game 7 if they actually needed it, because they needed to get some confidence going. And one thing that cannot be underplayed, it was when Verlander came out of the dugout. Came out from the locker room and started screaming at the teammates saying, guys, it's only 2 runs. It's only 2 runs. Mm-hmm. We can make this happen. We can come back from this deficit and win this game. And lo and behold, they find a way to put some hits together, start hitting home runs all over the place. What else is new? And there we go. The Astros find a way to take game 2, 7-5. And that was really, to me, the turning point in this series, because if the Dodgers had won that second game, I don't know if we're sitting here talking about a game 5. I don't know if we're sitting here talking about how classic this series would turn. It could have easily become I don't want to say a rout, but certainly would have been a one-sided World Series.
It would have. And you really cannot overstate what Verlander did. As you described that, I envisioned it, and I got chills. 2 runs is nothing. I mean, we learned that in Game 5 last night. 2 runs? What? Oh, we're down 12-9? No, we're cool. Bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. You got a runner on second. Fine, Chris Taylor, I'm good. Single up the middle. They step up. They're not shying away from the pressure. They're not scared, not one bit. And I don't know if you chalk it up to inexperience in the postseason, because none of them have it. But, I mean, they're not scared. And they are coming through in the clutch every single time you think they're down, whether it's the Astros, whether it's the Dodgers. It's like Al Pacino says, just when they think I'm out, they drag me right back in. And that's what they've done with our emotions, man. They've put our emotions into a blender in this series. Game 2 alone was the longest World Series game ever. Last night was over 5 hours, and you mentioned it was only 10 innings. It was over 5 hours, man.
I'm sitting.
How?
I don't know.
10-inning game, 5 hours. I'm not complaining. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I was up till 1:30. I was up at work this morning, 9:30. I'm still riding that high.
Oh, me too. I mean, I'm sitting there. I'm looking at the clock. It says 11:05, and I see it's only the 5th, and I'm like, we're still in the 5th inning?
I ate 2 dinners last night, Mike. That's where I was.
I don't blame you. I mean, I don't blame you at all.
I ate dinner twice in a 5-hour time frame. I don't know. Call it stress eating, whatever.
I think that
game does something to you. Baseball is just beautiful,
isn't it?
There's nothing like it.
It really. I mean, the drama of that kind of moment, where the game could be decided either way. By a mistake, by a blown call, someone drops a pop-up, anything, inches. And that game was played virtually, with the exception of being a pitcher. And if you're a pitcher, I would say you probably would disagree with this.
Oh, you're out of luck. Yeah.
You're out of luck if you're a pitcher. But really, it was just pure perfection. Because think about this. You and I both know this as baseball fans, as guys who have done baseball games. How many times do we sit there kind of saying, we're only down 2 runs, we're down 3 runs. I really hope that we can find a way to come back. Or, fans do this all the time. They fantasize about what team's going to do. Maybe we'll get a couple of guys on, hit a home run. And, of course, it never happens. Well, yesterday was your ultimate fantasy experience. I mean, this was like MLB 2K on drugs. That's what that was last night. It really was. It was crazy.
You keep seeing tweets. We talked about this pre-show. This is a series that's on drugs. It's on steroids. It's on drugs. I mean, riding the high, it's ridiculous. George Springer is a key example. He dives, ball gets all the way to the wall, runner scores from first. All right, Dodgers take the lead. What does he do? He leads off the inning. Bottom half, jumps on the first pitch, and he hits it to Kingdom Come. That thing landed onto the train tracks and exploded at the same time. That's what that puff of smoke was. That was the ball exploding off of the bat of George Springer.
I saw
These childhood fantasies that we dream of growing up, that we play these video games, they're coming to life in this series. Everything you could imagine, down 12-9, down 11-8, down 5 for Pete's sake, it doesn't matter. You come back, you play these situational things in video games, and I don't know if it's groomed them for what they're doing now, but they just don't care. They just do not care. At any point, both teams offensively know that they can get back into it. And you know why, Mike? It's the home run. I'm sick of the home run, but then again, I contradict myself, and I love the home run. Because
it's been that
last night we saw like 9 home runs or something along those lines. Game 2, we saw 8 home runs. 8 home runs.
It says here, wow, I'm just checking the stats here. You're right. 7 or 8 home runs. Let's see, Kershaw has given up 8 home runs this postseason. That's a stat in itself. It's very interesting. I mean, my goodness.
That's the best pitcher in the game.
I know.
Giving up 8 bombs. Like, what?
I know. I mean, for a minute there, I thought he was going to dominate this game. And then all of a sudden we see Gurriel hit that 3-run home run, tie the game up at 4. And even then when the Dodgers got the lead back at 7-4, you just had that feeling that the Astros just weren't going to go away. I mean, if they're down 4-0 halfway through the game, almost halfway through the game, and still find a way to tie it, they could probably find a way to tie this, and then lo and behold, Altuve just brings the house down with his 3-run home run. They even showed Kershaw's reaction in the dugout as he's just kind of peering over the railing to look to see where the ball's going, and you just hear this crowd just go absolutely nuts. I mean, he does the decibel pitch, and he just sinks back into his seat, and he has to be completely frustrated because he had a chance there to put his team up 3-2. He's the best pitcher in the sport. Kind of exercise his own demons. He's had to hear about it throughout his career, fair or unfair, and it just didn't happen for him at all last night. And
he did conquer that fear, that Mount Everest, as it were, going past the 7th inning and not yielding any more runs in Game 1. He did no such thing last night in Game 5. He just couldn't do it. And, you look on in the dugout, you have to hope that your bullpen can back you up. And, no, they just didn't. And Jose Altuve is 5'6", and he hits it to the deepest part of the ballpark in center field. One thing you mentioned earlier were the dimensions and all the nooks and crannies of Minute Maid Park. Imagine, Mike, if they still had Towles Hill. Imagine what fits that would play on a center fielder. George Springer's made timeless Gold Glove plays in multiple series at Minute Maid Park. Imagine if Towles Hill was still in existence.
Well,
just imagine that. That would be injury prone, but nuts too. And Craig Biggio was behind home plate watching the whole thing. He still made one of the greatest catches ever on Towles Hill, and he's not even an outfielder.
That's right. I mean, when you mentioned the missing Hill there, it reminds me of the base hit that Springer tried to dive for that he couldn't get. If the Hill was there, that ball keeps rolling, and there's a good chance that you could probably get an inside the park home run out of that. I mean, there's a very good chance.
It wouldn't matter because he still hit home. I mean, he still goes deep in the very first pitch in the next half of the inning. You're exactly right. It's like a pinball machine. Just goes up the hill, comes back down.
I don't know if you remember this, but this is kind of off topic. But several years ago when Carlos Beltran was playing for the Mets and that hill was still there in existence, he goes running up that hill. He's got his back towards home plate, just looks over his left shoulder, has the ball fall into his glove, and then as he's making the catch, tumbles on the grass as he's making his way up the hill, falls on his stomach, then rolls over and still holds onto the baseball. Is that the craziest?
No, I remember that catch.
Yep.
There's been a couple of catches like that, but that's one of the memorable ones because it's so tough to navigate that hill. You don't have the incline; you have a plateau, as it were, and then you have the hill. So you can't take your eye off the ball. You have to just step and hope that you step on the hill portion. If not, you got a broken ankle right there because you're stepping on the flat surface. But, yeah, the way that he could do that, it's like Jim Edmonds in St. Louis, although there was no hill. But the fact that he had a Willie Mays-esque catch over the shoulder running, it seemed like he was running uphill. Just imagine, man. That would have been – it would have changed the series.
It really
and
would.
Probably not for the better on the Houston Astros side of things.
Yeah.
But it didn't, and – Houston's up 3-2. By the way, my prediction was going into this Houston in 6. Did you have a prediction, Mike?
I did. I had Houston in 6. I thought they.
Okay.
So we'll see if it happens tomorrow. I mean, the Astros, just kind of looking ahead of tomorrow, they really need Verlander to pitch a gem. I mean, their pitching staff, and you mentioned it earlier, their pitching staff has been so worn down, not just in this series but also in the playoffs, especially out of that bullpen.
Ken Giles.
Oh, he's been terrible.
What is he doing?
Oh my goodness,
he can't throw strikes anymore.
No. I mean, he's had an impossible time. He's giving up home runs left and right, 3 home runs in 7 innings.
And same thing for Brandon Morrow on the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's been the most reliable guy out of the pen in this series, but you cannot rely on him every single night. That is just unfair to him. And finally, everything came to fruition last night, and the Astros just jumped on it and just kept jumping.
I mean, he looked shaken when he gave that home run to Springer. You could just see it. He just had this look of like, I don't even know why I'm here. He just had
I don't have anything left.
No.
He didn't have anything left. Joe Buck said it. John Smoltz said it, and Smoltz seems to know a little bit about pitching. I don't know about you, but yeah, they had no one else to use. I guess they had no one else to use. Brandon Morrow, Kenley Jansen. No one else has really been that reliable out of the bullpen. Davinsky has been a revelation for the Houston Astros. You have to agree, though. He's been phenomenal. He needs to be the guy at Musgrove that closes out a game. I guarantee you Ken Giles, if it comes in the 9th inning tomorrow night and the Astros are leading, I hope that A.J. Hinch has enough sense now not to send Giles out there.
Well, he said yesterday, and they said this during the broadcast, that he wasn't going to use Giles at all for yesterday's game. So I'm going to assume that unless it's a total blowout, like it's 10-0 or something like that, I don't think we're going to see Giles at all in the game. In other words, we're not going to see him, period. So, I mean, I agree with you. Davinsky was phenomenal, especially at the end of the game. Musgrove was very good. I like what Peacock did a couple days ago, just the way he shut
3
down.
2/3.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
3 2
that was like the second longest save behind Madison Bumgarner 5 innings a couple of years ago. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. I mean, they're in a situation, Houston, not just looking ahead for the rest of this series, but even going to next year where they got to figure out what their bullpen's going to look like. Both of these teams are going to be in the market for relievers going into next season. But we'll see what happens as far as who their closer is going to be moving forward. That's going to be an interesting storyline for them next year. Do they believe in Ken Giles moving forward, or do they go elsewhere? But they really need length out of Verlander in this game tomorrow. I mean, he had that. Go ahead.
I want to see him go 6 at least, maybe 6 2/3. I don't know how much gas he's got left after his Game 2 start. He wasn't great in Game 2.
When ransomware attacked.
No, he was not great. He was not great in that game. As we have an advertisement playing in the background by him just randomly.
Hey, live radio, gotta love it.
I love it. But he had that great game a few weeks ago against the Yankees where it went 9 innings. He pitched well against the Yankees both starts. He was just phenomenal. I mean, against the Yankees, giving up only a run and 5 hits. He only got 1 run in 16 innings against the Yankees in that series. That's it. 1 run in 16 innings. Talk about earning the rest of your contract. He has about 2.5 years left on it. My goodness, he was great.
Going into this series, Mike, the Dodgers hadn't surrendered a run out of their bullpen in 28 innings. That didn't happen. I mean, that ended really quickly.
Yes, it did. I mean, what do you think that is? Do you think it's just the fact how good this Houston Astros team is offensively? Yeah.
Yes. I absolutely believe it's how good they are offensively. I believe that they jump on a lot of early pitches. They sit dead red. And they can hit breaking balls, too. Josh Reddick finally woke up. Brian McCann has had some timely hits. So 1 through 9, they are finally a force to be reckoned with. Whereas it was usually – George Springer, by the way, is not a leadoff hitter, but they have him in the leadoff spot. Jose Altuve bats 3rd. Carlos Correa bats 4th. I mean, it's just a scary lineup. It's the most ferocious offensive lineup in the game. You can't get them out 1-9, and they're unselfish. They know, okay, I got a runner on first. I need to get him over to second. If I'm 0-2 right now, I know Kershaw is going to come with that nasty Uncle Charlie hook. I just try to make contact. Get the ball to the right side of the diamond. Dodgers failed to do that last night. And another really, really big play was Kike Hernandez tried to bunt, and it went right back to the mound. And Justin Turner was tagged out 2 steps ahead. Got to get the bunt down. We haven't seen a lot of bunts in this one.
No, we have not.
Personally, I love the bunt. I hate the DH, love the bunt. But I'm a National League mentality.
I mean, that's what's going to make this very interesting going into this game here on Tuesday night because of how deep this lineup is. Now, of course, you're going to have the pitcher hitting, so that's going to change things just a little bit. We'll see what A.J. Hinch decides to do as far as whether he's going to let McCann catch or let Gaddis catch. I did let Gaddis catch the first game of that series, so we'll see what he decides to do as far as that's concerned. But up and down this lineup, they're just tremendous. It's just a scary lineup 1 through 9. I mean, you have Brian McCann hitting 9th. I mean, how many times do you have a guy who's certainly capable of hitting 25 home runs in his given season hitting 9th? You don't have, almost never.
4 straight seasons with 20-plus bombs. It might even be more than that.
Might be.
Let alone, yes, there were 3 in New York where there's that short right field porch, but you don't take anything away from BMAC. He's got some power from that left side, and he's proven that. My question to you, Mike.
Yes.
Tomorrow night, Game 6, we both have Houston in 6. Is Lance McCullers Jr. available? I think he is.
I believe he probably will be. I mean, he hasn't pitched. He pitched what, Game 4? Last pitch.
Yeah,
Game
he pitched
4.
well.
He pitched well.
He pitched really well.
I mean, he's going to have now 2 days rest. You have today, and obviously yesterday he didn't pitch at all. So I mean, I would imagine if they really needed to use him, let's just say 6th inning, they needed to go to him. I think then A.J. Hinch is going to pull the trigger and go to him if he really needs it. That's going to be the question for me, because how long do you let Verlander stay in there? Is this a situation where you just say, if he's just in a groove, do you just leave him in there? I would. Just leave him in there as long as he wants. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't like that Kershaw was yanked so early in Game 1. I think that he should have stayed out there after that 7th inning. He gets over the hump. He's barely over 86 pitches. Why not leave him out there?
Yeah.
Let him go. This is the World Series, for Pete's sake, Dave Roberts. This is Clayton Kershaw at his best. Leave him. Save the bullpen. Let him toss a complete game. Didn't work out that way. He did yank him, and the Dodgers did end up winning. But still, leave Kershaw out there. I mean, that's why you have him as an ace. That's why you take him out so early during the season, to save his arm, to build his strength, that confidence going into the postseason. Because he can do it. Verlander's already proven you can do it. He threw 9.
And I feel the same way, too, about what he did a couple days later with Alex Wood. Now, I know Alex Wood gives up the home run, but it's only the only hit he's going to give up. I mean, he is throwing a no-hitter. He only has 84 pitches in that point in the 6th inning. Let him finish the inning. If he gives up a couple of more hits, then you want to pull him out, okay, you go right ahead. But let him finish the inning, get 6 innings under his belt. You'll probably try to convince Dave Roberts to go back out there for a 7th inning. Give him a shot. I mean, sometimes I know that it's all about baseball analytics, and they always want to play what the book tells them. But sometimes you just got to go with the gut. Sometimes you just have to go. Is this guy just have unhittable stuff? And the other day, Alex Wood had unhittable stuff. In fact, even proof was in the pudding for almost 5 innings.
And I guess the only reason he left him out as long as he did, according to the broadcasting and a lot of things I've read, is that the no-hitter. Now, that I might have a problem with, because in the postseason, singular milestones don't matter. It's a team effort. Now, if you're leaving him in just so he can preserve a no-hitter, no, I don't agree with that. Leave him in because he's dealing. And 1 home run, that's fine. That was chump change. I guess Dave Roberts had the mentality that, all right, where there's 1, there's going to be more. Alex is shook. This town and this stadium is going to ratchet up to 11. We're going to have a Johnny Cueto situation. He'll drop the ball off of the mound. I don't know. But leave him in. Let him work himself out of that jam. If he gives up another home run, yes, yank him. But the Dodgers had the lead at that point. It was a very small lead because that was a pitcher's battle. That was a chess match. That was, I tweeted out, an epically long staring contest. Who would blink first? And it was Charlie Morton that blinked first, and then Alex Wood blinked first. But an epic pitching battle that you have not seen a lot of in this postseason. It's been all offense. Every single bit.
It really has been. I mean, it makes you wonder about this whole talk about the juice baseball. Now, I don't know what they would do as far as making the ball juice, but it's been a topic that's been a big discussion among pitchers all season. I know that there's been some guys that have complained about it even in the postseason. So, I mean, is it playing a role? Obviously, it is. I mean, obviously, it is because we see the balls.
The balls are juiced. The balls are wound tighter. There were over 6,000 home runs, I think, in the regular season. That's a record.
Oh, yeah.
And in this postseason, there's already over 100, I think, between the DS, the CS, and now the World Series. There's something to it. There's something to it. The ball just do not jump off of the bat of a guy like Jose Altuve or an Austin Barnes or a smaller guy who you've never heard of. I mean, there's just so many guys that have just come off of the bench that you haven't heard of. I had no idea who Austin Barnes was, and he went deep. I was like, who is this guy? Who's the guy? Oh, he has a home run? All right, so it's like Oprah's here. You get a home run. You get a home run. You get a home run. Everybody gets a home run.
Everybody party.
That way.
And that's why going into this game, no lead's going to be safe in this game. And I know Dodger Stadium is supposed to be a pitcher's park, but think about it. I mean, we saw balls. Think about the home run that Justin Turner hit. I believe it was either game 1 or 2 in Dodger Stadium of the series, where he takes a pitch that was a good pitch. It was inside tight, a little bit high in the zone, and he just whacks it out of the ballpark. And on most nights, I know the humidity may have played part of a role, but most of the time in that ballpark, that ball stays in the yard. That ball was 2 or 3 rows back. I mean, he just think about that.
Yeah, and Yasiel Puig last night in that home run you've already referenced where they were down 11-9 or 12-9, excuse me, and then it's 12-11. He was fooled on that pitch. He was out in front and basically one-armed it into the Crawford boxes and left over that 10-foot wall or whatever it is. I mean, he was fooled. You can be fooled and still get wood on it and know that the ball is going out. How is that? It has not been that way in years past. Yes, you have guys like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. They're the exception, because they're Greek gods among men. Everyone else, I mean, they're normal. And why are balls going out at such an alarming rate?
Yeah.
It's disturbing to me. It's disturbing to me because I love to see a good pitcher's duel. I love to see good pitching. And offenses, as I've already stated, overshadowed everything in this postseason. Pitchers have to be really upset. I can't wait to hear what all of these pitchers are saying during the offseason. Like a Clayton Kershaw, Justin Verlander, the big names coming out and saying, all right, well, this guy shouldn't be hitting this far. No. He shouldn't be hitting this on this type of mentality. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, here we are coming out of the steroid era, and everyone's focusing on getting the stats a little more back to earth, getting the pitching stats. Pitchers starting to dominate the league again. We're seeing guys like Arrieta, guys like Matt Harvey, all these guys, Noah Syndergaard, starting to dominate in the league. The guys we've had here, Keuchel, Kershaw. And now it's going back into the offensive side here, and I agree with you. It is kind of disturbing, and it makes you wonder. Is it more than just the ball being juiced? I don't want to start a witch hunt here and saying, well, this guy may be doing it, and this guy may be doing it, and I don't want to start that at all. But it makes you wonder what's going on.
Everyone's guilty until proven innocent.
Absolutely,
that's what I'm looking at. You have who is it? There was a guy who you would have never thought was taking. D. Gordon was taking steroids, man. What? Like
D. Gordon?
Everybody's guilty until proven innocent.
That's the way it is in baseball.
That's all I got to say.
That's the way it is in baseball, man. It really is. Now, Rich Hill's going to go tomorrow for the Dodgers. Now, this is going to be interesting because looking what he's done all year when he's pitching against good teams. Okay, I'm not talking about like the San Diego Padres on September 27th. I'm talking about like against teams that have been good all season, like Washington, Colorado. He's only a 5-inning pitcher. He's only going 4 or 5 innings in these 3 starts he's had in the postseason. What is his leash going to be tomorrow? It's going to be fascinating. Considering all the pitchers that Dave Roberts has used on the multitude of times, he used 8 pitchers after Rich Hill in Game 2. 8. And he used 8. He used, 7, 8 pitchers last night. What's he going to do with Rich Hill? I mean, unless Rich Hill all of a sudden becomes Randy Johnson, I can't see him going more than 4 or 5 innings again. I mean, that's just the way this has been played here by Dave Roberts.
You've got to ask for 5.
Yeah.
You've got to ask for 5. If you get more, I mean, you consider that a plus. But you got to get at least 5 out of him. And he's no spring chicken. He's definitely no Randy Johnson, but he's also no Jamie Moyer. He's somewhere in between. He's 92, 94. and he's got some nasty stuff. He's got some great curveball, a good changeup. He can paint the corners. But I think you get 5 out of him, and if you get more, you consider that a win. Now, for Verlander, I think you get 6+. If you get 7, that's phenomenal. Because then you can go to Davinsky, and then you could possibly go to Lance McCullers. Don't forget, Lance McCullers closed out Game 6 or 7, whichever. I don't remember how long it was, the American League Championship Series. Closed out the Yankees in 3+ innings, too. So he can close it out if you need him. He wants the ball. He's already said it. I want the ball in Game 7. Well, this is Game 6, but it's also Game 7 because the Astros can walk away with their first World Championship in franchise history.
Absolutely. I'm just pulling up the stats here. McCullers, I mean, it was a 4-inning save he had against the Yankees. That was 4 innings.
Wow.
Only get 1 hit. Had 6 strikeouts. Wow. Just absolutely dominated New York. Now, when he started that game against the Dodgers the other day, of course he didn't pitch all that well. But you know what? If you got a chance to get him out, put him in the game, and you got a chance to win it right there, might as well go out and do that because there's no one else coming out of that bullpen right now for Houston that you can trust. I mean, like we said, Peacock has been used a million times. They already used Musgrove yesterday. You know, what's he got left? You know, on a day off after a flight going to Los Angeles. We'll see. So sometimes, if you have a chance to go out there and get it, you might as well do it. If you're AJ Hinch, it's gonna be fascinating. It's gonna be fascinating to see how these two managers work this game tomorrow, because there's so much involved. There's so much on the line, but considering what we have seen in this series, anything is possible. And I think both of these managers have to be somewhat conservative in some respects. Play a little.
Maybe, but then maybe not. I think at this point everyone's available. Like, all right, you're tired. I'm tired too, man. No one's healthy. It's October. It's Halloween, for Pete's sake. All right? None of us are healthy. None of us are 100%. Suck it up and do what your team needs you to do. That's the mentality everyone should have right now in the dugout. Easier said than done, especially if you're Ken Giles, because you're a mental nutcase because you can't throw a strike, and when you do, it goes yard. But I tweeted out last night as well, if you're the Dodgers and the Astros pitching coach, and if they didn't already have gray hair going into this series, it's graying now because you are witnessing a pitching coach's worst nightmare this postseason. No answers. You have no answers. Whoever you throw out there, it doesn't work. So I feel for the pitching coaches, man. I feel for the pitchers, honestly. I really do.
I agree with you. I feel for them too, because it's a situation right now where it doesn't matter where they put the baseball. These guys are going to find a way to jack it out of the park or get an extra base hit. It's just the way the series is going right now. I mean, everyone's been pretty much figured out at this point. Everyone's tired. So I think for the Dodgers, they're other than the fact that obviously they're down 3-2, this is going to be more interesting to see how they manage this game tomorrow, how they figure this thing out tomorrow, just to get to a Game 7. Because like we've talked about, all the Astros have to do, just give the ball to Verlander and just let him deal. Let him deal for 6-7 innings, as long as he wants. If he wants to stay out there 10 innings, let him stay out there 10 innings if he's on a roll. That's the kind of mindset you have right now if you are the Dodgers. Everything is on the table right now. And can this offense deliver the way they did in Houston? Because we saw Bellinger struggle a lot in this postseason, struggle at home in this postseason, came to life the other day. Can he have a big game? Can he go have a kind of game that we saw Carlos Correa have for the Houston Astros now in his own building? That's going to be huge.
I think he can. I think you see the Dodgers really come out swinging and really being aggressive at the early counts. And if you're Verlander, you know that's going to happen because you know what's on the line. It's a 3-2 series lead. The Dodgers and the Dodger Stadium faithful, as bandwagon as they probably are, celebrities galore in the seats, they're going to bring it. They're going to bring it. It's going to be ratcheted up to 11, to use the Spinal Tap reference again. And you know that the Dodgers are going to come out swinging. So if you're Verlander, maybe you give him a heavy dose of breaking balls early on. But then again, if you're the Dodgers, you're thinking, oh, he knows that we know he knows. So it's like a whole situation where it's a chess match. Oh, they know that we know that they don't know. It's like it's a chess match, and it's the most beautiful thing in sports. The mental game, the cat and mouse, the mano-y-mano, the rat-a-tat-tat. I'm done with metaphors now, Mike, but it's just an awesome thing to see. But to answer your question, I don't even know if you asked a question at this point.
Well, no, it was just more of a comment.
Come out swinging, and I think Cody Bellinger has woken up. He has had his welcome to the party moment, He's there. Justin Turner's there. Puig is there. Jack Peterson's there. My boy Charlie Culberson, who's from Rome, Georgia, has come up big. Everyone's there.
Even Chris Taylor. Even Chris Taylor is there for that matter. We're getting the base hit at the end of the game.
Chris Taylor. How can you forget? My gosh. He was the best hitter in baseball like the final couple of months. And he's an outfielder, infielder, outfielder. I don't know what he's playing now. They put him wherever he wants, and he flourishes.
Absolutely. So, for me, I just cannot wait for this game. I really can't because these two teams have figured each other out at this point. And for me, last thing in the series is say who's going to be MVP of this series. You can go in many different ways. I mean, it could be for the Astros anyway. It could be Correa. It could be Altuve. You could want to give it to Springer. You could give it to him. You want to give it to if the Dodgers find a way to come back. I would imagine probably Bellinger or Puig. Certainly Peterson and Forsythe could be in the conversation too, with the way they've been hitting the baseball lately. Could be in the conversation, but if someone could pitch well here in the next game, maybe even 2 games, that might be the guy that ends up getting the MVP award because it's more of a war of attrition for these pitchers.
Yeah. Well, Verlander got the MVP in the ALCS, deservedly so.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he gets the AL MVP here, depending on what he does tomorrow night. But, yeah, I think George Springer's my favorite. Honestly, I love watching that guy play. He's so much energy. But then you have Correa, who has come in with timely hit after timely hit, and then Altuve. Give him both MVPs, because he should be the rightful American League MVP, in my opinion, this season. No disrespect to Aaron Judge. I don't know who you give it to. And then for the Dodgers, they gave him co-MVPs in the NLCS. You had Justin Turner and Chris Taylor. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not going to be a pitcher. I know that much. Brandon Morrow, though, has earned it. I mean, besides last night, he has really shut the Astros down, and he's been the only pitcher in the Dodgers staff that has done. So I don't know who. I don't know who to give it to with the Dodgers. Bellinger has really come out, like I said. It's tough.
It really is.
It's really tough.
It really is.
I can't pick him.
Because in years past, you always have that 1 or 2 guys you can clearly say are the MVP of a series, a World Series.
Everyone.
This year, it's everybody. It's everybody this year. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'll say this: if we do go to a 7th game, which is entirely possible.
Oh yeah.
I'll be very interested to see what these going back to pitching. I'll be very interested to see if we see a Keuchel and Kershaw appearance at some point in that 7th game.
You have to see an appearance from Keuchel and Kershaw because there's no other game. There's no game 8.
No,
it's game 7. Your season is done, so you're available, whether you're hurt or not, whether you're healthy or not. Hey. Manager walks up to you. Can you give me 1? Hey, Skip, I'll give you 2. I'll give you whatever you need. This is game 7. It's game 7. Those are the 2 most beautiful words in the English dictionary. Game 7.
And with the way this is going so far, I think Skip might say, "Can you give me 8?"
Can you give me?
Wait, this game's it's 7-6 here at the 2nd inning. Hey guys, can you shut this thing out?
Yeah, I mean, I only gave you 6 the other night, and I threw over 100 pitches. But sure. I'll throw you out there.
Yeah. We're just going to have you on the disabled list for all spring training.
Yeah. I got some shoulder tightness. Yeah, so do I, man. I got stress. I got a massage, and it didn't help me. That's your fault.
Oh, my goodness. So, again, Game 6, folks, tomorrow night, obviously in Los Angeles. It's going to be phenomenal. Whoever wins this series has certainly earned it, as we just said. And it's put baseball, and baseball's been on this track for a while now, where it's getting back into prominence as the American sport. And, I don't want to get into all the stuff with the NFL, but the baseball outdid the NFL yesterday as far as ratings are concerned. The World Series Game 5 had a rating of 12.8, and the NFL game only had a rating of 9. So that's it. It's beating up the NFL right now in the ratings. It's beating up a lot of people in the ratings. And you know what? I love it. You know what? Because baseball is... Not only is it the pure American sport, but looking at the way these two teams, you had these two great teams, 2 great young teams. We had 2 great young teams last year. You got so many great young players all across the sport on all these teams. And you want to call it parity, you want to call it call it whatever you want. It's just beautiful to see where baseball is going right now. It really is.
Oh, it's in a great place. It's in an absolutely wonderful place. If you're not watching baseball, what are you watching?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't care about football. What's football, Mike? I don't care about football until October's over. And October's over tomorrow. So if the series ends, then so be it. But Halloween is tomorrow. Weird things can happen on Halloween, man. Maybe we'll see a black cat make an appearance on Dodger Stadium. I don't know. Weird things can happen on Halloween. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But isn't it awesome that over the past several years we've had a World Series game on Halloween? I can't remember the last time I actually celebrated Halloween because of this. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's fine with me. I mean, it's been this way for a while now with these World Series games on Halloween. I remember the first one that I can remember was the Giants-Angels World Series in 2002. And that series
back. Okay.
That series,
I was going to say Royals and Mets, but yeah, that too.
That's because that one ended Game 6. That Game 6 was a classic series itself.
Now was that Troy Gloss MVP that year?
Oh yes, he just absolutely ate up the San Francisco Giants for lunch. I mean, he had that huge home run in Game 6 that year. That proved to be the difference. But that series ended on a Halloween.
That was the series as well where Bonds hit the home run and Tim Salmon mouthed, "That's the longest home run I've ever seen hit," or "That's the longest ball I've ever seen hit." That's correct. The one, right?
That is correct. That is the one. Yeah. That is the World Series.
Oh, Darren Erstad, David Eckstein. What names? What names? Garrett Anderson.
Jeff Kent. Oh, my goodness. Rich Aurelia. What's going on with Giants?
Rich, there he is. JT Snow. Oh.
Yeah, I think JT Snow's home run against the Mets the year before in the division series still hasn't landed. But anyway.
No ill will towards that.
No.
God, I don't sense any.
But now the year before, of course, was the Diamondbacks-Yankees series. That was a great series. Oh,
gosh. I stayed up and watched that. I was on the phone with someone and watching that. And, oh, man. Luis Gonzalez with that little, I don't even know if he broke the bat, but a little flare he fights off of the hands, falls into center, jumping up and down, arms lifted to the heavens down the first baseline. Wow.
I'll be honest with you.
Yankees weren't supposed to lose that. No. Mariano Rivera was on the mound.
I'll be honest with you, because the Yankees had all those great comebacks. They had the Barocious home run. They had the Tino Martinez home run at the stadium. Aaron Boone, of course. Well, Aaron Boone was a couple years later in the LCS against Boston.
Right.
But they had all these home runs in that series, Game 4 and 5, to take the lead in the series. And then Game 6, of course, Randy Johnson just absolutely dominates them. I think the score was like 13-2. It was a blowout in Game 6. Diamondbacks won. And when
Kurt Schilling's next.
Oh, Kurt Schilling comes out the next game.
That rotation was filthy.
It was. Well, especially the top two, because after Schilling and Johnson, they didn't have much. And then Brentley goes back to Randy Johnson. He's not going to go to bump Young Kim again after Kim gives up all these home runs.
No.
Goes back to Randy Johnson to close it out and you're done, Yankees. We're finished. I'll be honest. I'm not even a Yankee fan. As you know, I'm a Met fan. There was a little sense of euphoria in my at the time. How many years ago that was? I was like 14 years old, 15 years old. There was a little bit of euphoria in me that night.
Hey, there's no shame there. Yeah. And Randy Johnson coming out of the bullpen is nothing unordinary. I mean, he started out as a closer for the Seattle Mariners. So that's nothing he's not used to. He's a Hall of Famer as a result now.
Absolutely. And that World Series. That's going to be the question next.
You want to rank them?
Yeah, let's rank these things, because that's going to be the thing that everyone's going to talk about next. It's going to be ranking this World Series with these others. I mean,
nothing touches it, in my opinion. Nothing touches it. Like Game 7, you and I were talking in the pre-interview.
Yeah.
Game 7 last year, phenomenal.
Yes.
That has been every game in this series. Every game has been the equivalent in this series to last year's Game 7.
You're right.
It's a fact.
You're right.
It's a fact. I mean, yes, Rajai Davis, phenomenal home run off of Aroldis Chapman. You've had that happen every single game. You mentioned already 3-4 run deficits are nothing. It's like playing in Coors Field every single night.
It's like it's just been. There's no words to describe.
Nope.
I've run out of adjectives. I'm looking for adjectives right now. I've run out. I mean, because
I'm gonna invent a word right. Yeah. No, I got nothing.
Because even if this game does end tomorrow, if the series ends tomorrow, it's still going to go down. I hope it doesn't. I
want to keep it going. I don't want baseball to end.
Let's just go back to the rules of the 1950s and institute a 9-game series again. Why not?
Oh wow, that would have been amazing. Pitchers though, they're not. Oh man, we might see Clayton Kershaw 3 times in that and a start.
We would.
Then again, we did that with Madison Bumgarner in Game 7 and a 5-inning save. Several years back, too. He's pitched 3 times in that series.
He was filthy that series against Kansas City.
Oh, I mean, unhittable.
They wish that if Kansas City didn't see him in that series, Kansas City wins that series. There's no doubt. I mean, he single-handedly beat that team. Unbelievable.
It was 90 feet. Eric Hosmer was down the third base. It was 90 feet. That was it.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yep.
I agree with you. I think this World Series is certainly going to be up there. It certainly has to be considered one of the best, if not the best. And if it goes 7, it will be the best, period. At least until next year.
I mean, I think so. Because you have the best pitcher in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the best hitter in the game. What more do you need? You've got Clayton Kershaw, Jose Altuve.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two biggest stars when it comes to the two facets of the game you need to really hone in on when baseball, pitching, hitting. You have the two best. We get to watch them on a nightly to every other nightly basis.
Absolutely.
We're spoiled, Mike.
We are.
We're so spoiled.
We are. We're spoiled. We're spoiled as fans. We're spoiled in this day and age as fans, broadcasters getting to see the best players. I mean, really the best players. Maybe I don't want to say ever because there's been some great players certainly in history of the game of baseball, but just the talent level is at a level that we have not seen maybe ever in baseball. Where you have guys up and down lineups, guys up and down farm systems and teams, organizations that are so deep. Almost everybody's deep now. I mean, it's hard to find a team that it doesn't have a deep system or something of a system.
Well, growing up, you had the dad bod, which was like a Tony Gwynn, Cal Ripken. Now you got Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge. They're jacked.
Yeah.
Everyone's jacked. Bryce Harper. Like, it's not the average Joe, like a Ted Williams. He wasn't super muscular. He's still the greatest hitter of all time. But now, everyone's just jacked. Muscle. Adrian Gonzalez, who is no spring chicken. He works out at kids' playgrounds. He finds workout equipment wherever he goes, and he's working out. It's just a different era. It's a different game, and we're in a health-conscious world right now. That was not the case. Babe Ruth, diet consisted of cigars and hot dogs and beer. He's still the greatest home run hitter of all time, with the exception of Hank Aaron. But it's just a different game now, Mike. It's a different game, and they're so strong. It's ridiculous how strong they are. And it's not just the hitters. Pitchers, look at Jake Arrieta. That dude is yoked. Absolutely yoked.
Yeah. I mean, the talent, like I said, it's so good all over the place. And, of course, everyone's using baseball analytics now. And, it goes into what these teams are. I mean, all these teams, and we see even in these managerial changes here, with Joe Girardi being released from the Yankees, Mets going out and getting Mickey Callaway, with the Dave Martinez going over to the Nationals. It sounds like Gabe Kapler is going to go to the Phillies. I mean, it
was announced today.
Yeah.
He did.
So he's over there. So all these teams are getting guys who all have one thing very much in common. A couple things in common. One, they're all very young. Two, they're all steeped in baseball analytics. And three, the general managers now all have more power in these organizations than ever before with the way these front offices run and how they break down all the stats and how they crunch the numbers and how they draft players, pick players, and develop their farm system. And the manager's just kind of a curator. He's just kind of the guy that just makes sure that the lineup's good. I hate to put that in such a low perspective, but just kind of watches over everything while the GM does everything else.
It's a league of Theo Epsteins now.
It is.
Mike, everyone's young, everyone's analytically based, and there were only two exceptions to the young manager you mentioned. Dusty Baker, who's out with the Nationals, he'll land somewhere, and Ron Gardenhire, who landed with the Detroit Tigers. And there was one other, John Farrell.
John Farrell.
All three of those. I mean, they're probably the oldest managers in the game. Joe Madden as well. He's still with the Cubs, but for how long? It's a young man's game now. It really is.
And there's so many guys that you go look around Major League Baseball, you say, well, who's this guy? Who's this guy? I mean, there was a time where we would sit there and say, who's A.J. Hinch? I mean, there's been a lot of fans that probably were wondering that this week. Who's A.J. Hinch? But that's what the league is now. There's a whole bunch of A.J. Hinches now across Major League Baseball running these teams. And I know a lot of fans, they get on the radio and they start bashing these new additions of managers, saying, oh, this guy can't manage, this guy can't do this guy's not a name. Honestly, this is what baseball is now. There's not going to be that big headline name that you're going to see that's going to get a job now in Major League Baseball as a manager. It's just not going to happen anymore.
No.
The days of Lou Piniella, the days of getting guys like Joe Torre, those days are gone. Tony La Russa, those days are gone. It's getting these guys who just know how to be part of the organization and just make sure everything's in line for the team to be successful. That's it.
That's really a different managerial style, too.
Yeah.
Growing up, you mentioned Joe Torre, Bobby Cox, Lou Piniella, Buck Showalter. They ran the show.
Yeah.
Managers aren't running the show anymore.
No.
Not at all. I mean, they're answering to these young guys in the front office too. I mean, you hear about this growing up, like, okay, this young guy, he's going to be your boss one day. He's their boss, and that one day is today, and they have to answer to him.
Mm-hmm.
They have to answer to a guy who's the age of their son.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a pride, like, oh, God, their pride must be so hurt every time they have to walk into the office and ask him something.
Exactly.
That's rough.
That's got to be tough. I mean, it really has to be tough.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I thought that Joe Girardi did a great job, just to pull him in for an example, did a great job in New York.
Agreed.
Winning World Series, getting that team to play so well, especially this team. Look at all the teams he's managed. I mean, he had guys like A-Rod and Derek Jeter and Mark Teixeira, all these all-stars on that team. He had all the personalities, the Page Six, of course, with A-Rod and Jeter, and he was able to manage that team in New York City and get a championship out of it. Now he has this team of all these young players, all these young stars now, in Judge and Sanchez, Greg Bird, and he's able to get them to overachieve in the eyes of some and get all the way to the ALCS into Game 7 against a team that might win the World Series tomorrow. So and he gets, I don't want to say fired, but he parts ways with the Yankees. They decide not to bring him back, which surprised me. But I was just
very surprised.
I was stunned.
And everything you just mentioned is why.
Yeah.
Not only that, but every single player likes him.
Mm-hmm.
He has not had any spats with players, and if he has, they've been swept under the rug. He even stood up for CC Sabathia during his alcoholism when he went to treatment.
Absolutely.
He cried in a press conference talking about how good of a man CC Sabathia is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy you want to go play for. Todd Frazier even said it after they won the ALDS. Like, this one's for Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Because Joe had just made a bad decision pulling a pitcher early or whatever it was, because his postseason is now 3 months long.
Mm-hmm.
He's great. He's a great manager. I hope he lands somewhere else, but he'll always be a Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
He'll always be a Yankee.
Yeah. And, the one thing that was kind of interesting here in New York that they were talking about it, and one broadcaster mentioned on the air, I'm not going to name names, but some guy on the radio up here in New York said that part of the problem that Girardi had was maybe he didn't relate to players, and he mentioned that he had maybe some issues with some of the guys in the clubhouse, like Gary Sanchez, who's had his own issues, of course, catching. I mean, his defensive prowess has not been too good this year.
No, it's not.
He has been pretty poor, especially in the playoffs. So he had some issues with him. They mentioned Aroldis Chapman and some anonymous player that may or may not have tripped Girardi in the media or in the front office. Either way, there were some issues there. And that, look, I understand that those kind of things will indeed happen. But it doesn't, to me, diminish the fact that this team went out there and played for him, played their guts out for him, after he made a pretty bad mistake not challenging a play in Game 2 of the ALDS, and absolutely got murdered for it by the fans. And I thought unfairly by the fans, for that matter, in New York City. But he withstood it. He does it every single day. He takes it all the time on the chin, takes it on the chin for his players all the time, and the guy just keeps winning. And I hope he does land somewhere. I agree with you 100%. I hope he lands somewhere soon. Maybe he takes a year off. Maybe he takes a year off, spends some time with the family, and then next year when some openings come up again, he can land somewhere. Maybe back in the AL.
Well, Mike, he deserves it.
He deserves it.
He deserves a year off. Two of the toughest jobs in America are being a manager in a media environment like the New York Mets, New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, and being president of the United States. I put those two in the same ilk because you deal with media every single day, and those media, I mean, they are just cruel, and they do not hold back. I mean, you wonder why the gray hair so quickly. But Joe Girardi, he took it in stride. Stand-up guy, never had a problem with him. He's a pretty dang good catcher, too. I mean, not a Hall of Fame catcher, but a good catcher in his heyday. I mean, good for him. Good for him. He deserves some time off. He deserves some time with his family. He does not deserve the exit that he was given, though, by Brian Cashman in New York. I lost some respect there.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're being there. I mean, look, if there were some issues there, I could certainly understand that, teams want to move on. The Yankees want to move on, find someone younger. But Joe Girardi, you can't do better than what he did in New York. And I honestly thought that team would have been an odds-on favorite next year to go to World Series. That may still be the case, but we'll see who they find. It's going to be tough to do what Joe Girardi did next year.
Yeah, who do they hire? Who do they hire from within? Can you name a manager in the New York Yankees minor league system? I can't.
Well, it's Pedrique is the guy. Is the guy? He's the AAA manager. That's the guy they've been talking about. Rob Thompson, who is the third base coach. That's another guy that they're considering. There's been some talk about Tony Pena, who's their bench coach.
Okay.
But Pena's
I like Tony.
Pena's kind of an old school guy, and some people think that because he's not baseball analytics smart, if you will, that they may not go that way. So they're thinking.
I've heard inklings too of trying to bring Don Mattingly back.
Not so. I heard that early. Now it's just more on the line of Pedrique and Thompson.
Okay,
that's kind of what they've been talking about a lot more now. So we'll see where they go. There may be a dark horse candidate in there that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. So we'll see. But it sounds like they're going to go young on this one.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's what everyone's
discussed.
doing.
That's the way managers are going now. Started maybe with Brad Osmus several years back with the Detroit Tigers, Mike Matheny, and experience is thrown out the window as well. You don't have to have prior experience.
Oh, I
mean,
know.
if you get along with the front office and they trust you, and they can kind of bully you around and make decisions for you, you're hired. Yeah, seems that way right now.
I remember the name. Now. It was Jerry Hairston Jr. That was the other name that's been banted about.
Okay,
Jerry Hairston
Dodgers
Jr.
analyst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
It was kind of funny because I'm in the car. I'm driving around here in this area, listening to the radio here in New York on the WFAN, and they mentioned that Jerry Hairston Jr. is going to be on the show to talk about the World Series. And apparently Jerry Hairston Jr. then canceled that appearance because his name is now being floated as the Yankee manager. So who knows? Maybe there's something to that. We'll see.
Then you have Alex Cora. I mean, he's not young. He's a utility player at best when he was with the Red Sox and a couple of other teams. Dodgers were one of them.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't been a distraction, though, which I really appreciate because he's still the bench coach for the Houston Astros. And he hasn't been a distraction. You know, he's gone at the end of the season. Yes, he'll get a World Series ring if the Astros do pull it in. But now he's the Red Sox manager.
Yeah. You know, if you're AJ Hinch, you're saying, please don't take any of my players.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Because, I mean, Ron Gardenhire has already taken a few other guys with him from the Arizona Diamondbacks to the Detroit Tigers because Gardenhire was the bench coach for the Diamondbacks. I say that because I had to look it up. I didn't know where Gardenhire had been over the past 6-7 years, Mike. I had no clue.
It was with Minnesota.
After he left the Twins, I didn't know where he went.
He hasn't managed in a long time. I mean, he has been out of baseball for a while. I was surprised his name even came up. I was like, what?
Well, he hasn't, though. He's been the bench coach for the Diamondbacks, evidently, for several years. And I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. My goodness.
Alex Cora was the ESPN analyst on Baseball Tonight. Then, this year, he's the bench coach for the Astros. I didn't know that.
Now he's the manager of the Red Sox.
His name floated around for the hire of the Red Sox. I don't know where these guys are. Gabe Kapler has apparently been the director of player development for the Los Angeles Dodgers for several years. And now he's the manager of the Phillies.
Yeah.
These guys don't go away. They just stick around.
They stick around in dark corners and dark alleys waiting for their chances.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Cubs. The Cubs have several guys on there. Eric Hinsky has been given a job as the hitting coach for another really, really good team. He was the Cubs' first base coach, and he had some great, great timely hits with the Atlanta Braves and the Toronto Blue Jays. He was the Toronto Blue Jays Rookie of the Year when he broke in. He's got a big-time hitting coach job. And the Cubs have Ryan Dempster. They have David Ross. They have all of these guys. Kerry Wood. They have all of them in their front office. It's the same thing with the Atlanta Braves. Fred McGriff, Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, all of these guys, Dale Murphy. They're all on the payroll. They all have these same titles where they'll just go around minor league baseball. I've seen them, and they're just looking around. Trinidad Hubbard is another one that is with the Braves. It's crazy. These guys don't go away.
No, they don't.
Stay in the game of baseball.
Yeah, Mark McGuire is the bench coach of the San Diego Padres. I mean,
and he was the hitting coach for the Dodgers several years back.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are still around. Even Barry Bonds. I don't think Bonds was with anybody this year, but last year he was with Miami.
The experiment didn't work out with the Marlins last year when they tried him as a hitting coach.
But they're all there. They're still around.
They're not going away.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe Fred McGriff is the next manager of the Braves. It could happen. Anything's possible. You never know.
Anything could happen. People definitely have not liked Brian Snitker, although Snitker didn't have much to work with this year. He really didn't. It wasn't a great team. Everyone knows that. Look at it on paper. Go back and watch a game. It wasn't a great team. But the players love him. And again, you want to go to war for someone, and they stand up for him. That's why Snitker came back this year, because guys like Freddie Freeman, they stood up for him and said, hey, I want to play for this guy. You don't have players step up for them anymore. That doesn't happen. But the Braves did it. And unfortunately, the Yankees didn't do it. Or maybe they did behind closed doors and no one listened.
Maybe.
I don't know.
We'll see. Anyway, what's going on with you guys over there at 27 Outs Baseball? What do you guys got coming up?
Coming up, we actually have a guest, Chris, lined up. Chris Hogan, my co-host. His name is Billy Horn, and Billy Horn is a pitching coach in the Atlantic League as a member of the Long Island Ducks.
I actually know him. He was,
oh, yeah, you do, because of the Ottawa Champions.
That's right.
Not the Ottawa Champions, but the...
Yeah, the Ottawa Champions.
It was the Ottawa Champions. Yeah, he was the pitching coach for the Ottawa Champions a few years ago, and he's been with the Long Island Ducks, and he's got a prospect day coming up, and it's around November 9th, November 11th, 12th, somewhere along those lines. Listen to the show. It airs Sunday nights, 9 Eastern, 3andoutradio.com, as well as the Spreaker app. But Billy Horn's going to come on and talk about that, talk about his experiences as a pitching coach, because he was also a pitching coach at the collegiate and high school level before he joined the ranks in the pros. And Chris lined that up really short notice, and it's going to be really nice to hear about this prospect day. Guys coming out, there's going to be big league scouts there, and just to talk shop with Billy Horn is going to be awesome. Have you had the chance to speak with him personally?
Not too much. I mean, it was kind of casual when I knew him when he was up in Ottawa, but he was always always a very affable guy, very nice guy. So
we talked to him earlier today, actually, as a pre-interview, and he's just a salt of the earth guy. Loves talking baseball. Super nice guy. He's from New York, like yourself. Great guy.
Yeah, he really is. So that's gonna be a good listen to. I got to check that one out again, folks. That's on 27 Outs Baseball. Was that the 3 and Out Radio?
3 and Out Radio, yeah. THR, the number 3, and outradio.com. That is our partner as of about 3 months ago. And our show also airs following Sunday nights, 9 Eastern. It airs Monday nights. We replay at 7, and it's available on iHeart and iTunes. Just search 3 and Out.
Kabam. There you go, folks. That's what it is. There you go. Awesome.
Hey, I like it. Kabam.
Kabam. All right, Ben, this is fantastic, man. I want to thank you so much for coming on, talking some baseball. I cannot wait for this series to continue. Maybe you'll go 20 hours tomorrow, so we can just have a full marathon of baseball.
I'd love it. I would love it. I call in sick the next day and feel no shame doing it.
And you know what? You'll call in. You'll say, "Hey, is the boss in?" No, he's actually watching a baseball game himself.
Oh, if only I worked around those type of people.
Oh. All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Mike, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for having me on the show.
All right, take care, man.
You too.
All right, folks, there you go. So that's Ben Poplin of 27 Outs Baseball. I want to again thank him for coming on. And folks, again, I cannot wait to see what happens in this World Series. See how it winds up with the Astros and the Dodgers. And remember to follow us on the social media, Facebook.com/OpenMicProgram, and also on Twitter @OpenMicNJ. And also, folks, remember to like and subscribe right here on the Sports Talk Nation, right here on YouTube. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.